Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
This is Pulse 95 and a very warm welcome back onto the program. We're going to be talking about the 5-day work week in the office. Now, we're so used to it in the United Arab Emirates. We've been back to work since July 2020 when half of the world was still fighting the pandemic and still being concerned. Gradually, international organizations based here in the UAE also started going back to the offices until we reported full 100% capacity at the workplaces after a while. Now, the big question here at the moment is a new report that's come out from researchers from the OECD Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, say there may be no going back to the 5-day week in the office, according to a survey in 25 countries. Now, how the survey has worked is looking at different countries and their own different work culture. And yes, there are a number of organizations still in the UAE that operate as work from home. Now, to what extent is that going to lead to an end of the 5-day week, or should there be a hybrid way of going back to work? Well, all of this is now down to individual HR and different organizations. But as a whole, do we think that work from home is usually beneficial, or do you think working from the offices is better? Have your say on 4215. What do we think?
Well, according to a report by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, it said that both employees and managers found that working from home during the pandemic was actually positive for performance and well-being. And also the proportion of staff teleworking at least one day a week is expected to be much higher than before the pandemic. And also a separate study suggested that, or found that, the substantial increase in advertised telework in COVID lockdowns was only reversed modestly when the restrictions were eased. And these results, they show that they suggest that telework is here to stay, especially in countries with high levels of digital preparedness, such as the UAE. How do we feel about this, though?
I'll tell you how I feel about this.
Yes.
Okay, so here we go. So, yeah, there's one interesting thing about the study. Researchers suggested that workers should be protected from too much working from home. And that is definitely important because it can definitely spiral out of control. Initially, the thought of it sounds really comfy. You're wearing whatever, You're chilling at home. You don't have to drive to work. It sounds very nice in theory, but there's definitely a darker side to it, and it could in fact impede your career in many different ways.
Yeah.
One thing for sure is your social relationships at work, your network. It's a lot more difficult to get that going when you're at home. So that there's a more of a, it's difficult to strike that balance there. The other thing too is it really a stimulating environment when you're just hunched over a laptop as opposed to being around the office, different people spewing different ideas, grabbing lunch, meeting in different conference rooms, taking various breaks. So it's a less stimulating environment in my opinion.
Yeah.
But for me, the biggest thing is you lose the boundaries. I like having compartments in my life, a work-life boundary that is very clear and very strict. And I think for me, that's conducive to me being productive, because when I'm home, I turn work mode off and I do what I have to do. But when I'm at work, it's work time, it's serious time. And that's what really keeps me going. It keeps me fresh as well. But if the boundaries are blurred, I might burn out. I might feel overwhelmed. I may not do as good a job as I could be in an office setting. So I'm not crazy about work from home. I understand everyone's different, but I definitely think that there should definitely be something done about making sure workers are doing well even if they are from home, to not be overworked in that setting, and of course encourage people to come to the office.
See, this is the thing. I agree with you 100%, especially with our social situation.
Yeah.
Me and you.
Right.
Because, I mean, if we had kids, maybe that would be different. So I can't really say we can't generalize it, right?
Yeah.
But for us personally, like me or you, we would find this to be the perfect situation to be working from the office, and then going back home. Home is home, work is work.
Yes.
But for people with kids, maybe it's different. So we can't say. But for me personally, I agree with you 100% because I still don't have kids. So for me, it's the perfect layout right now. The perfect setup right now is being in the studio at work. less distractions. Because if you're at home, you're distracted.
True.
Easily distracted. You can easily say, oh, you know what? I'll just go, watch some TV and then I'll come back and do this. Plus, you're unmonitored. Your performance is unmonitored when you're at home. You can't run away from that fact. You're saying, no, I mean, my manager will keep, checking up on me, but really, can he or can she? It's not the same. I don't feel like I'm in check when I'm at home. I like to be always as you said,
Under pressure.
Not under pressure. You don't have to be. We're not under pressure here.
Under observation.
But you're kind of in check. This is your place.
Held accountable.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I think
plus, I feel more motivated when I'm in the studio than I'm at home because at home, especially when we were doing the show, it was so funny. It was wearing pajamas and then on the top I'm wearing a blouse and looking like I'm professional and all of that. It just doesn't feel right. Yeah.
Definitely does. I think it obviously depends on each industry. For us, obviously, being on-air talent, it's better to be in the studios and better to be in the work environment and as opposed to a virtual conversation. But there's some departments where they are dealing with international clients as an individual basis, and yes, they're filing their weekly reports or filling out Google Sheets virtually. Then understandable. Then yes, you can work from home, and it's always good. But I think that the commuting part is so crucial. People.
Ake is always calculating that.
Logistics.
Yes, because your day
how much
could
is
be
costing him.
Yeah, the cost of travel. And then the commuting part where you miss a train. Let's say, for example, you're using the metro or the local transport. You've missed a train. You missed a taxi. You've missed a car. You've missed a traffic light. Something. It frustrates you, and it continues throughout the day. So on that note, it affects your work. And whenever you go to the office, there's also distractions. There's always one colleague who will come up to you and ask you how your evening was. What did you get up to? Let's grab a nice cup of coffee in the canteen or in the pantry and chill and have a conversation.
And you don't like that?
I like it, but there's always one person who can distract you for the whole day, and then that's it. You're gone. Your productivity can be ruined to an extent.
I don't know about you, but I love my morning commutes. I enjoy that.
Wow.
I missed that when I was at home. I was like, I just want to be on the road right now.
The thing is,
it's 10 minutes.
I was more on the road during the pandemic than I am normally now.
Interesting.
So
in what sense?
Because I used to shoot a lot with the Sharjah police, for example.
That's true.
I used to go out with them.
I remember
and then,
that. Yeah.
And I used to go out, and then being a news journalist was always, that street has gone through a bit of a lockdown. Let's go there and check it out. So that it was always that, and then the reopening gradually became the next thing. So I had to go and film and talk about how this part of the country is reopening and COVID-19 vaccination, launch of the drive-through testing centres. Great, do videos and that. So, I mean, for us journalists, there was no such thing as work from home. You're always working from everywhere anyway. I think it's very important to realise that the 4-day work week that Sharjah has announced for government employees, I think that's very good because when you do hit the 5th day, you've reached that fatigue. You're always in that weekend vibe mode. But in 4 days, you'll always be motivated to do more, and obviously working longer hours is going to be fun. So, guys,
and I loved your idea the other day when you said now for us Sharjawis we have a 3-day weekend and we can do so much with it, like even travel.
Exactly.
Like travel to other GCC countries, for example. That's not just in the UAE, but we can go outside.
Go for Umrah and come back.
Ideal.
Fly in, fly out.
We don't even have to take days off or anything.
Exactly.
Especially for us here, for us here on the morning Majlis, we finish work at 10 in the morning. We can just take an early flight. We can,
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it's
use that.
Go for it. Yeah.
Why
Use that
not?
privilege.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, appreciating everyone's thoughts coming in. 4215 for you to have your say on this topical discussion. We'll be right back after the news headlines, and we shall continue the discussions and shift our focus back to the Emirate of Sharjah. You're listening to the Morning Majlis only on Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of The Morning Majlis, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.